Eu vou pedir então para ele comentar rapidamente sobre a principal agenda aqui no Brasil.
Well, my main agenda for Brazil is very similar to my main agenda for the Rotary world, and that is to see Rotary grow and Rotary expand and Rotary provide more service in Brazil and the rest of the world.
E qual o projeto mais importante que ele considera hoje do Rotary a nível mundial?
Most important project worldwide is and remains our eradication of polio initiative. It is essential, having worked for over 30 years, to reduce the incidence of polio from 1,000 cases in the world every day to only 18 cases anywhere in the world so far this year. It is essential that we carry on until we finish that completely and fulfill the promise that we made to the children of the world when we set out in the 1980s to do this job.
E como você avalia a participação do Brasil nesse projeto?
Brazil has contributed greatly to this project. The Rotarians within Brazil have been extremely generous to the Rotary Foundation and extremely generous to the campaign to raise funds to eliminate polio, and a number of Brazilian Rotarians over the years have participated in the national immunization days, and so Brazil is an integral part of the campaign to eliminate polio, just as Brazil is an integral part of Rotary International.
E sobre a participação do Brasil na Fundação Rotária?
Again, the Rotary Foundation owes a great deal to the Rotarians in Brazil for the support that they have given the foundation over the years, and we hope that that can continue, and we look for new avenues for that to continue and expand as time goes by.
Eu li certa vez que, na sua opinião, a melhor maneira de aumentar o quadro associativo é pelo engajamento dos associados. Como os clubes podem trabalhar por esse engajamento, ampliar esse engajamento, e como as revistas do Rotary podem colaborar com esse processo de ampliar esse engajamento dos associados?
I think if we make a mistake at the moment, we worry too much about getting a new member. We need new members, so we go and get a new member. I ask you to join my Rotary Club, you say yes, I'll join. I then put you in the corner and I ignore you while I go and seek out the next new member. And as a consequence, over time, you lose interest, because I've joined a Rotary Club but nobody's showing any great interest in me, they're not listening to me, they're not giving me a job, and so why should I stay? 1 in 10 people who join Rotary leave again the same year they join. I think that's a terrible indictment on us, not on the people who leave us. I'm a gardener. Heather's just arrived in the room and she'll tell you that we have a nice garden at home. If I put a plant in our garden at home, I don't put the plant in the garden and then ignore it while I go and plant more plants. I nurture that plant. I make sure it's got roots. I make sure it's developing. I make sure it's sustainable. And then I'll move on and do some more parts of the garden. And that's how it should be with our members. So it's up to the clubs to bring people in and do that and show them Rotary beyond the club. And that's where the magazines can come in, because the magazines can show the large world of Rotary to the Rotarian who is receiving the magazine, and they can realise that, hey, this organisation is not just about this club that I am a member of, it's about a club that works all through Brazil. It's a club that works all through Latin America. It's an organisation that works through the whole world. And that is where we get true engagement. And I believe if you engage a new member, you're not going to lose that new member.
Rotary, uma organização diferente das demais, e como ele vê o papel dos governadores do Rotary?
I think the role of district governors within our organisation is very important, because they can support the club presidents and the club presidents are supporting the clubs. And we need to have a structure. Now, I know there's a great debate at the moment as to how that structure might look 5, 10, even 15 years from now. But Rotary has always been a leadership development organisation as well. And in addition to the opportunity to give service, personal development is a big part of being a part of Rotary. And I know that I learn things through Rotary that I never learned at dental school. And so I realise that we have to have leadership opportunities, because an organisation with 1.4 million members has to have a structure, otherwise it would never function. And so there's an important role for the district governor.
Se ele considera que o Rotary tem que mudar em alguma coisa?
Oh, I think Rotary should be changing lots of things, and I think Rotary should be always changing. There was another president of Rotary International who you may have heard of, called Paul Harris, who said that Rotary should always be changing and should always be relevant. And if Rotary has done one thing over the years, on occasions it's not changed quick enough to reflect the changes that are taking place in society. And that's why every now and again we have to do a big catch-up, and we have to make sure that we leap to the next level. But we should be constantly changing. We should be constantly looking at ways to improve the way we do things, and to be making sure that we are relevant for 2022, just as we were relevant for 1922.
Conhecia já o Brasil.
This is only my second time in Brazil. I was in Brazil in 2015, in São Paulo at the Rotary International Convention, but only for 5 days. So this is only my second time, and as you probably know, we arrived this morning after a 23-hour journey from Scotland. So we have not had a great deal of opportunity yet to experience Brazil, but we hope to do so over the next few days. We hope to enjoy some of your fine food. We hope to enjoy some of your fine culture. I'm a big football fan, a big soccer fan. I understand Palmeiras are playing on Saturday night. I don't know if there's any opportunity.
Todos os presidentes trabalham com prioridades em suas gestões. Quais serão as suas?
Well, my priorities are threefold. One is polio. We have to get polio completed. The second one is peace. I think peace is what Rotary was formed on, and peace is what Rotary is known for, and peace is what Rotary has to spend time working on, especially at this time when you look at the world, you look at the conflict in Eastern Europe, but you look at the conflicts elsewhere in the world as well. We're seeing a lot coming out of what's happening in Ukraine at the moment, but there's also a civil war in South Sudan. That means that 60% of that country's population don't know where their next meal is coming from. There are other conflicts in other parts of the world. So Rotary has to step up to the plate and has to promote peace. But it has to build peace from the ground up. Prevention is better than cure. It's great to stop a war, but it's much better to stop a war from starting in the first place. And so we have to make sure that we address conflict. And the other thing that I'm very keen to open a conversation on is the issue of mental health. I think mental health is a big issue in our world. I think it's a bigger issue now that we've had a pandemic and there are more people with mental health challenges. And I think Rotary has a part to play in that by extending the comfort and the care philosophy.
You know, the positive impacts that we are having and the lessons learned from the pandemic moving forward.
Yeah, and I'll be speaking to that very subject tomorrow. But one of the most important things as we exit the pandemic is that we learn the lessons that we have during the pandemic. And I think that is on two fronts. I think one front is from the point of view is we have learned how to conduct meetings in a virtual world. And that's a great thing. That can be a great cost saving. It can be a great saving to the environment, but we also want to meet together face to face like we're doing today and like we'll do over the next few days. So it's very important that we get the balance between virtual working and our traditional face to face working. But the other thing we've discovered, I believe, during the pandemic is that there is a great sense of community within our society. And within the towns and the villages in Scotland, and I'm sure it's exactly the same here in Brazil, people have become very much more caring. They want to look out for their neighbour. And I believe that's a great opportunity for Rotary to engage with those people and say, come and join us. And through being part of Rotary, you can support your community, you can support your country, you can support the world.
Eu vou fazer uma pergunta como se eu não fosse do Rotary, né? Como se eu fosse uma pessoa que não conhecesse tão bem a organização. Eu gostaria de saber o que levou o senhor a ser presidente do Rotary International e o que influenciou nessa decisão.
That's a question I have asked myself many times over the last 12 months. I joined Rotary 38 years ago when I was 26. I was a 26-year-old dentist in Scotland who wanted to change the world. How could I change the world? I couldn't change the world working on my own. I couldn't change the world as one person. But I was introduced to Rotary by a very good friend of mine who sadly is no longer with us. And when he introduced me to Rotary, I realized that here was the vehicle through which I could make a difference in the world.
What makes you happy and what upsets you?
What makes me happy when I sleep 8 hours at night? That makes me happy. What makes me happy is when I can see. What makes me really happy is when I can see other people happy. And what makes me sad is when I look at the inequality that exists in the world, the needless inequality that exists in the world. And I see people who have a great deal, who want even more, and at the same time there are people who have nothing. And I think this world could be a more equal place, and I think Rotary has a part to play in that, and to make the world a fairer place and a more peaceful place. It's as simple as that. Everything comes back to peace, because as I've said, and I shall say it probably in the course of this weekend, peace is not just the absence of war. Peace starts down at the level of education and clean water and health and a roof over your head. And all these things are so important. And so that's what makes me happy, is to see more people at peace.
E eu gostaria de saber se você conhece exemplos, os melhores exemplos no mundo de ampliação do nosso quadro associativo, porque sem associados o Rotary não existe. Então nós precisamos de associados. Qual se você conhece no mundo, exemplos de como aumentar, ampliar o quadro associativo e também engajar, manter esses associados no mundo?
I think the best examples of growth, and let's talk about what I consider to be the best, not the biggest, because it's not about the biggest. It's very easy to have a campaign, as we've had in some parts of the world, where suddenly membership goes way up, people join, and then 12 months from now it falls away back down again. So it's about providing, and my great mantra here is I talk about Rotary being available everywhere in a style to suit everyone. And where I'm seeing the most success in growth is in those areas where there are different styles of clubs.